Alright, so I made this yesterday. Looks like a football jig, right? Football jigs are really nice because as they come into rocks or wood or obstructions, they basically pivot that head in a way that it keeps that hook, you know, swinging to one side or the other, away from kind of rolling and digging it in and getting it snagged. Add to that a bristle guard and that you can kind of fork. Really great thing. The only problem with it, that's a 1 ounce football head. You stick a fish with that and he shakes his head back and forth. That's a heavy hammer to swing to like dislodge it in there, right? So you can go lighter weight, but then you don't feel the bite is better if you're fishing deep. So what I will tell you though, the difference between this football jig and this thing that I just held up is that is a swing head. How does a swing head stand up like that? This is also a swing head, right? So it's flopping over like that, and you don't really have the advantage of that hook point staying. I mean, you have this extra motion, which is kind of cool. Like you hit rocks and stuff and it just has that kind of jointed movement, right? And I took the mold for the swing head and I added a collar to it, right? And the idea is that I would tie a skirt on there. Well, I took one of these punch skirts and I shoved it on there, and I discovered that football head, when you push that punch skirt up in there, it crowds it a little bit and it keeps it. Now, it keeps it pointed, which is also going to keep that hook swinging out of the way. So it gave me the idea. It gave me the idea for this. I do my best thinking when I'm laying in bed, either right before I go to sleep or right as I'm waking up. And this is what I had this morning waking up. Instead of the punch skirt, which I didn't tie it, you know, this isn't a tied skirt. I don't know if you can see that. That's just, it's got the little center ring and it's preformed, right? And it can flop side to side, but it doesn't really want to. What I thought of making is getting this oxygen tubing and shoving it on there with, what is that? So I molded it on there with a flipping hook, right? So this is one of the smaller ones. I got the smaller mold here, smaller swing jig. I don't know. I'm either about to like waste my time or come up with something truly brilliant. I can't tell which. The reason for putting that on there originally was so that I could tie a skirt on there, but then I thought, hey, that keeps the hook upright and you know, makes it swing so it doesn't, that hook point doesn't get into trouble when this hits, you know, different surfaces that it's coming across. It won't roll and that hook point won't dig. It has the advantage of when a fish starts shaking their head, it will still swing against, you know, inside that tubing. That will still go side to side, right? But only under pressure. So yeah, I want to make more of these, but I want to make them with that oxygen tubing and tying my own skirt on there. So that's what I'm going to show you. This sort of swivel head, football head, tying my own jig, and I may even change it from, you know, that to, hey, let's put a bristle guard in there. Let's drum a little notch in there and be able to put the bristle guard in as well. Hopefully this sort of tackle crafting creativity, like weirdness, Hope you enjoy that sort of thing. If you don't, go watch one of my other fishing videos that is, go watch the March playlist if you're not into tackle crafting. But if you are, let's dive in. All right, I think I'm gonna do this on one of these first before I do the smaller ones. Smaller ones are kind of harder to modify, and I already kind of modified this to fit the flipping hooks that I showed you earlier with this oxygen tubing on it. I also put the collars, tried to put collars on there, and I think I pretty much ruined this one. That was the 3/16 because you never want to do what I did and Dremel out this little plug here, because that, you know, that's going to get filled up by the wire, this wire form. This is actually the wrong size. Smaller one goes in that, but that little sucker goes, well, I'll just put it here. We'll take a look. It's kind of upside down. You put the hook on this first when you're molding these, and then you stick it in there like that. And if you remove the part of the mold that's in between there, it just pours out and fills that in, and then the hook doesn't move. So in any case, what I'm gonna do, I gotta pick one. Let's go ahead and do the half. So the smallest one on the big mold, the big swing mold. That's the small one. Goes down to what, 1/8 to 7/16, and then we jump up to go up to this size. So first thing we're gonna do is use a regular football jig. Let's move that out of the way to sort of look at where things line up. So the line tie is going to be that wire form. It's going to line up there. The collar is going to be, I'm going to remove this and put it back right there. Okay. And that's going to place our weed guard right in there. So to start cutting the weed guard slot, I'm going to use this cutting wheel. Once I got a nice groove cut there that's straight and leaves room out here for this insert pin. This is a silicone one. You can use the metal ones too. I'm going to go back in with this round mill and just give it that concave surface that this is going to be happier with. All right, let's do it. So you want to kind of test fit. You don't want to have this bigger than it needs to be. It's not big enough yet, I can tell that. But I'm gonna stick that insert in there and kind of look down on it and see, are we aligning? Not really well. I can see where that's coming. So this side needs to grow here. So I will take out more on the left. And really what I'm hoping for is that this closes just enough, and I'm kind of a long way from it closing, which is fine. You want to ease into it for the exact reason of that this side and the other side were not aligned when they came together. So you do it a little bit at a time, and yeah, I do have a good alignment now. I can just make sure that this size, get down there, is big enough for that pin, but just barely. little at a time. Yep, it's getting closer. Okay, so it doesn't quite close out here, but in here where that mold is, if I'm gonna show you me just squeezing it a little bit, that closes down. That makes me happy because I want it to be a tight fit, because if it's not a tight fit, this, as you're pouring it, will slide out the bottom and you'll just have lead pouring out the hole you just made. You're trying to make a cavity so that when you're done painting it, you pull that plug out and then you can put that bristle guard. And I use Gorilla Glue to get them in place, but I'm pretty happy with that. I might take just a little more off of this side, and I think I'm done. I think that's all the modification I want to do, and it was just purely to get the bristle guard on there. And we're ready. Let's go pour. I'll tell you what, before I go down to where I pour the lead, I don't have very good lighting there. I'm gonna show you how I'm setting all this up here with good lighting. So I have the flipping hook. I'm gonna pop one of those out, and we're basically, let me make sure I got the right one. I think, yeah, this bag was the small one. So there's two different sizes. So that's for the smaller swing heads. And then this one, I just grabbed one. This is for the larger, this little boomerang shaped wire there. I like to have, it's kind of like an upside down L as you lay it in there, but there's a little opening there, and I'm going to take the eyelet, the eye of the hook, and just thread it on there, and it's just kind of dangling. Okay, and then you're going to lay that down there. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm not ready to pour because this is what I did last night with the other ones. If I close that, the plastic keeper part of the that flipping hook is going to get crunched and probably cracked and not good. So I can just eyeball this. Let me get my glasses back on, and I'll create a little spot for this. So it's got this little barb that kicks up to the side. It's touching my thumb right there. Made a little room there. So I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side here. And I'll have to remember that this is the half because I'm getting ready to grind off the two. All right, let's check this all for fit. And when you're laying this, and I still got to preheat this mold, but when you're laying it all there, let me zoom in a little bit and you can see what I'm talking about. You know, it can be tricky because things kind of slide around in there. Let me get that centered better. Right here, laying on the flat surface, it's doing pretty good. So you got the boomerang shaped upside down L. You got that little hook keeper part of the flipping hook, and I'm gonna lay this little pin in there. That's gonna create a nice little channel. Now I just nudge that little wire form. I'm taking a bristle guard to just kind of push it back into place. A lot of times when you close this, it does the right thing. I really got to clean all that dust off. But how'd I do? Yeah, that's gonna close. So that's good. I got 2 pieces touching. I have to grasp it kind of hard to get it to do it, but we're good to go. All right, so anytime you get a new mold, and I've just preheated that one by laying it on top and filling it. I filled it a couple times, but I'm gonna smoke it. And it just, especially where I just did some Dremel work, you know, there's some rough surfaces there, and it just makes sense to smoke it out. I like it. Next thing, this is starting to, I can see that it's starting to drip a little bit, and what I'm going to show you is a trick for taking the spinnerbait wire. Let me get a good grip on this thing. Jam it up there. It has a little bit of wax on it already from last time I did this, but you can see that smoke coming off. You get the wire hot, and then you touch it to some wax, and the wax just fluxes that hole. If anything is kind of not real clean in there, kind of move it around, up and down. Do that a couple times and it'll help you get some good pours. I'm not there yet. I'm getting towards the end of some lead I had, and it's I thought it was pretty pure. It's been pouring pretty good. Right now it's fighting me to get a good stream. Yep. I'll get there eventually. It's an old RCBS Pro Melt 120 800 watt. It's never replaced the pin. That's going. All right, and I'll get some wax on there for the touch up. Take all the wax that's come off on that and put it back in. That'll flux it a little bit. All right, so put the candle aside, and I'm gonna preheat this one more time, and then we'll pour it. See that dribbling out? I don't know if you can see that. It's coming out where that where we made, man, that's all pouring right through. We don't have the bristle guard pin in. The other ones we do. So it's holding it. All right. Let's clear this out. And again, that just kind of preheats things, but that's what happens when you don't have the pin in. It just all over the place. I want to do this a lot. I put my bibs on. I'm just doing the jeans because this gets hot on the leg. Got the hook and the wire guard, the boomerang, if you will, the upside down L in place. Get the bristle guard pin in. It's kind of a tricky balance, especially when the mold's burning your legs. Oh, that's hot. Hot. I tell you what really helps is a nice, clean, clutter-free workbench. Too bad I don't have that at all. Not even close. All right. That looks good. Let's pour it. All right. I put it right up in there. I'm even touching the nozzle, and I open that lever crisply. So I think it's most of the way full. Then I'll pull it back and then push it down crisply. I don't like to have a stream in the air. It's just, it's cooling, you know. I'm trying to get that chunk back in there. I do not want it cooling at all. So, okay. Yeah, that did good. We got our pin in place. We got the hook that's kind of free flowing, kind of wiggling around there. I'm going to cut that sprue once this cools off. And we're going to do the oxygen tubing later. We're going to slide it on there. But let me just pour a bunch of these and we'll kind of come back to it. The heat gun fire up, and we got our fluid ready, green ready, and this is what I came up with. I think that's a 1/0, and one of them's the 3/0, but the rest of them I think that's probably 3. I did a lot that were 2, so I'm gonna try different sizes and see how they rig just in this little rigging experiment. But I'm gonna go ahead and powder paint these up and cook them a while, and then we'll tie some. We'll put the tubing on, and then we'll tie some skirts on there, maybe some hair. So I like to grasp with these pliers right where the hook is going to tie. Kind of keeps that area clean. I don't like going real deep on this if I can help it. I also don't like heating this part because it's plastic. That will melt. So I just kind of take it to the edge. Get the back side. Rotate it around. Sorry, I'm not really showing you that real well, but I'm protecting the hook keeper. Alright. And when you take it out, you want to sort of rotate the hook, and that knocks some of the paint off of that part of it. The more you leave that on, the more you're going to have to do this after it's cured. So go ahead and rotate that and use the hook to clear that off. Alright, I got 4 of those done of green and 4 black. We're going to go ahead and shut this, let it bake, come back in 20 minutes and tie them up. It's still a little warm, but they will be rigid when you break them out, and you gotta kind of, I can't do it with one hand, but just break the little bit of paint they got in there. I try my best when I dip them to not go all the way up there, but it just happens. And you know, some of them will be fine. Some of them you gotta sit and work with. But like that one was easier. Just didn't have much paint. Anyhow, let's pull these out and clean them up and tie some stuff on them. That one's pretty bad. Look how much is gummed up in there, but you know, you just sit here and work with it until it loosens up where it will pivot. Again, I'm going to be putting this tubing on there to make it stay rigid but pivot when they do the head shake, so this stays in them. So I don't need a whole lot of flexibility on this, but enough to have that kind of do its thing is good. So while I'm doing this, I can also remove the pins. This is why I like the silicone ones, because they generally come easier than the metal ones, and when you're pulling back and you got a hook there, it can kind of be tricky. But the silicone ones, they do good. Yep, that one's good. Alright, now it's time to put these kind of flexible collars on there. There's somewhat of an angled back, so having the tube angled a little bit isn't a bad idea. You want to make sure you get the length right to just give it a little bit of rigidity, but to not get in the way of that little barb there. I think I messed that up on this one. See how it's crowding the barb? Like the plastic can't fully engage with that. And I'll probably pull this one back off and shorten it. But let's I don't know, just cut a length that looks about right. And all I'm doing is threading that on, pushing it down. I'm going to rotate the angled part to the back of the head and shoving it over. Careful not to hook myself. Yep, that makes it rigid. But there's too much there, so I'm going to trim it. But it accomplished what I want, which is some flexibility, but overall it's gonna still act like a football head and not have this kind of lay down and hook on things. I think swing heads are good for a lot of different applications, and this is making a swing head not really a swing head anymore. It's something in between a swing head and a football head. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. It can move a little bit, but it doesn't fully lay down on its side. I'm happy. So at this point, what I have is what I was trying to do with the other ones, which was let's see if I have one of them around here. Create something in the way of a collar that I can tie to, and it was hard doing that. Like, I just did little Dremel cavities around there. It was hard doing that without occluding that hole. And I haven't really tried tying on this. I'm about to. I'll do that after I finish with what I'm doing, but I think I may just use that as a swing head. I got that grip pin hook. But yeah, let me tie on this. So I'm just gonna get a base layer of thread on there, and I may do it a little bit tight close to the head, kind of lock it in. I don't know that I'm really going to squeeze it to close it up, but you know, as long as you have not just bare tubing to tie to, I can tie on that. All right, let's get, what do I do? I grabbed green. Look at that. Here's some olive. What else I got handy? Got some skirt layers. Yep. And then I got some round rubber. Let me get those longer ones. Yep. Just get creative here. Let's start with the fur. So I get a little pinch of that. I'm just going to lay it on the back here. I'm going to fan it out all the way around. I'm gonna trim it. I don't ever do this super clean and close. I just, man, it's a high volume operation. Just get some hair on there. It'll be good. It'll work. All right, next. Gonna get some silicone skirt material. Just wrap that around. It's just a single skirt layer, and I just make a U shape, and I think this just makes the crawl legs. All right, tie that on there. Then I gotta have my antenna, a round rubber. Lay that down. You know, I really like the round rubber. I might get another set of something there. Just add more. Round rubber is so cool. Adds such great motion. Okay. A couple half hitches, and we're going to trim this up and add the bristle guard. Let's see if I get my fly head cement flowing. I don't really know how the thread is gonna react to staying on that tube. I've just never tied onto oxygen tubing, as it were, before, so I'm being generous with how much of this fly head cement is going on there. So there's my tag end. I'm gonna trim it up. These are the ends of the skirt layers. I'm gonna free all those loose ends. Gonna go right down the middle. Loosen that up. Look at all that motion. Take these little strips of round rubber. Separate them. Okay. Interesting. Got a lot going on there. I wish I would have flared that hair out a little bit better, but it's not a bad looking. Look at how it stands up. So these have that kind of flat side there. It's just part of the mold. It's pretty cool. All right, we got some FG30s, and I got some Gorilla Glue here. We're actually gonna just squirt this a little bit onto the cardboard there. So I got some to work with. And this stuff activates by getting it wet, and I don't have any water here, but oh look, I got a little Mountain Dew. So you just, after it's wet, get some of it on there, and we're gonna go right into the pinhole, into that little cavity that we left with our silicone inserts. If you have trouble getting these to go in, get a small drill bit and just stick it in there, like smaller than the size that it is, and just round that let out so it isn't straight there. You want it to flare out the inside of that little cylindrical cavity. It's a fun trick to, in fact, I usually travel with when I carry this with me, and I tie when I'm on the road frequently. And there's a drill bit in there somewhere. I'm not gonna dig it out. Actually, there it is. Let me show you what I'm doing. I'll do it on a larger jig head if I can. If I can get this out, I'll show you. Small drill bit. Alright, so say you weren't getting a bristle guard in there, like you were trying to push it in and it wasn't behaving. You take the, you know, not the business end, not the, you know, corkscrew side of it, but just the cylindrical flat part, and this just, that opens up that hole. It just mashes the lead. It's a nice little trick to make sure those go in well. Anyhow, I'm gonna tie up a pile of these, but doesn't that look like a regular football jig? I mean, it's standing up, especially once we get the soft plastic on there. We'll come back to this. I'm gonna tie a bunch of them up, and you know, I should let this one kind of cure a little bit, but make no mistake about it, when a big bass starts shaking his head, there's some flexibility that's gonna, you know, keep that from coming out. Unlike the rigid one, he starts swinging that 1 ounce head, sometimes they get out of that. So that's the idea here. All right, we'll come back and look at this when I'm done with a few more. For what it's worth, this is the right length. It kind of angles into the back of the head. It gets really close to that little barb, but you can scoot it forward and you can get soft plastic to tuck in there. I can get some Elastec. It's gonna be that bat wings. You know, it's still fairly rigid, but not so much they can't swing and get that side-to-side motion and that hook stay in them. So it's taken me some time to like sit here and like make a bunch of these the right length. All right, I've done this 2 different ways now. I'm gonna show you. This is the first way that I tied close to what would be the collar. So I ended up tying it right at the base of the head where the tube intersects with it, as opposed to this one I was tying further down. I think I like this one better, so experiment with it. Is this one gonna slide off? I don't know. If it's gonna slide off, it's probably gonna slide up to where I just tied that one. You know, that's why you don't you don't experiment with these and just make like a few. You know, I got 8 to play around with and learn from, and I'm gonna take 8 of these fishing, and there's gonna be 2 that I absolutely love, and the other 6 are ones that I've learned from. All right, I've done 8 of them. 4 in that green color, 4 in the black, and guess what do I want to do here? Take the first one I did, and I'm gonna do a helicross. I originally thought I wanted to do the bat wings. Maybe I do want to do the bat wings. Yeah, love the bat wings. Helicross is good too, but bat wings are my favorite. So this is the first one I did. Just gathering a little bit of that, because it doesn't need to hold a lot of it down there. It's just something that holds it in position. It looks like the first barb will do the trick. I can go to all the way in there. That might actually flare out the hair a little bit better if I go just jam it deep in there. I can't tell whether that cleared it or not. I'm gonna bend the hook, push it around there. I don't think it got it, but I don't know that it matters, because there's two barbs. What do you think? Is that gonna do the trick? Maybe I'll get it up on Lake Marburg soon and find out. Probably not. I gotta do another dealer run for the next 2+ weeks. All right. It's all right. I'm getting a lot of work done so I can do a lot of fishing later. All right, I'm splitting that apart. Yep. And I think that's gonna, man, that's gonna go into brush. It's gonna turn that corner and not dig that hook in. That Elastec is gonna kick up and give it the claws. And when a big fish shakes his head, it's got that pivot. Cool. Well, that's the tackle crafting for this particular Sunday. I look forward to getting these on the water. Thanks for watching. See ya. One more thing. By the way, when I do get out on the water, these two are going to go head to head. This one that actually is the swing head with, it's just a punch skirt that I showed you at the beginning, versus this one that has that stiffened neck. And for sure, if I see some brush piles, this one's going in. But if it's just kind of an open flat with some rocks, I kind of like that one. We'll see. I'll show you very quickly all I'm doing with this swing head, and this one's an easy thing to put together. Punch skirt, see that little hole? Shove it on there, and I've made this with the grip pin hook. You get it past that little grip pin. These are so easy to put together. Like, if you wanted to get into doing this, I know I just did a lot of crazy tying and custom stuff there. Man, that's a really cool rig. And it does have some little bit of stiffness in that hook, so that when you put the bait in there, it's somewhere in between this, which is more like a football jig, and just a bare unskirted swing head. So good option. I'm gonna try both of them. See ya.